The Texas Supreme Court will determine the fate of an El Paso nonprofit helping out migrants.
What led to the lawsuit from the state's attorney general.
And wildfires in California are still burning as firefighters there are expecting high winds and potentially new flare-ups. The latest from LA as they try to get control of those fires.
Good afternoon. We'll spend much of the week in the 50s, a few 60s later on. Much warmer this week than last week. We have the numbers for you coming up in a few minutes and first warning weather.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Today, the Texas Supreme Court is set to hear a case to decide the fate of an El Paso nonprofit that helps migrants. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has been working to shut it down since last February.
The Annunciation House is a Catholic charity that operates shelters for migrants. Paxton calls it a de facto stash house. However, that charity's supporters say the humanitarian work it provides is critical and something it's done for 45 years. Back in July, we saw Annunciation House survive the first attempt to close its doors. Paxton asked the court to pause the shelter's operations, claiming it encourages and conceals undocumented immigrants. The judge rejected that request, determining it to be, quote, harassment and overreaching. Here's what the shelter's lawyer had to say after that ruling.
If he ever succeeded on his claim that he should close Annunciation House, well, what's going to happen? All that's going to mean is more people in El Paso streets. Who does that help? All it does is provide a narrative of chaos on the border, which is a narrative that some people politically want to promote.
El Paso County's attorney, Christina Sanchez, filed the brief that's the basis for today's hearing. It claims without Annunciation House, migrants will be forced onto the street, leading to a public health crisis. She also notes it would put more strain on local government resources there in El Paso. Paxton's office has not spoken publicly yet about today's court proceedings.
Today, Texas lawmakers will get a better idea of how much they can spend in the new state budget, and it's expected to be in good shape. Texas Comptroller Glenn Hagar will release the Biennial Revenue Estimate, or BRE. It's his estimate of how much money lawmakers will have available when they make the next state budget. He hinted that the estimate would be good news for Texas.
The legislature here is in a very positive position to make some real kind of monumental decisions and life-changing decisions for Texans, which if you compare that to other states, some of the other states, unfortunately, they're in deficits right now. So we are in a relatively very strong position compared to other states.
The 89th regular legislative session starts tomorrow. We will be live at the state capitol for the kickoff of the new session. We're set to discuss the results of that contentious House Speaker's race, as well as some of the big items that lawmakers are expected to tackle over the next 140 days. You can catch that Tuesday afternoon on KXAN News at 4. Today, Governor Greg Abbott is ordering flags to be raised before the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump next week. The governor announced he would order the flags outside all state buildings to be at full staff on January 20th in honor of Inauguration Day. He cites a federal statute that states the U.S. flag should be displayed on certain holidays, including Inauguration Day on January 20th. The flags were lowered due to the death of former President Jimmy Carter. The Department of Veterans Affairs says flags should remain at half staff for 30 days after a president dies. President Carter died on December 29th, which would make it 8 days early. The Texas governor released this statement in part saying, quote, as we unite our country and usher in this new era of leadership, I order all flags to be raised to full staff at the Texas Capitol and all state buildings for the inauguration of President Trump. He went on to say, quote, while we honor the service of a former president, we must also celebrate the service of an incoming president and the bright future ahead for the United States of America.
First warning weather.
Your time now, 12:04, and we're taking a beautiful live look from the top of our Austonian camera out over the lake and that skyline. Nothing but blue skies there. Rich, I have to tell you, driving back from the game up in Dallas, back from Dallas to Austin, it was wild to go from snow on the sides of the road and watching it all melt away. And then I got back to Austin to what felt like a spring day.
It's gorgeous this weekend.
Oh, it was great.
Really seasonal. We're a little lower temperature-wise today, but that was expected with the front that came in yesterday morning. We take a live look at clouds and radar here, and we're not seeing much today outside of a few of these passing cirrus clouds that we saw Saturday and saw a little more of them on Sunday. We're seeing more of them today, too, getting caught up in the upper flow aloft. It is now 50 degrees at Camp Mabry. That's the warmest we've been so far today, this after a low of 39. Mid and upper 40s out in our hill country communities this afternoon, this early afternoon. Upper 40s to low 50s from the interstate eastward. We'll all head to an average of mid-50s today on a day that will continue this dry air mass that we have had for the last several days. We have a dew point right now of just 12 degrees at the reporting station in San Saba, 16 degrees at Craddock Field in Burnett, also 16 degrees at the municipal airport in Georgetown. These are all too low. That's not going to support any moisture at all. Dew points from Austin southward are in the 20s and 30s, and we won't see much of a change here going into tomorrow because the wind will continue out of the north and northeast. Right now, wind speeds are at about 5 to 12 miles an hour. We will have some gusts later on this afternoon up at around 15 to 20. Temperatures peaking in an average of mid-50s today. We're back in the 30s tomorrow morning. Some of you might have a little bit of a freeze in the morning. Some will not. We'll average temperatures tomorrow morning about 32 to 36, and then we are back deeper into the 50s, but still below normal on Tuesday afternoon. Still to come, we'll be on a little bit of a roller coaster temperature-wise. We'll show you that and what rain chances we do have. But the big weather story, even this early in the ball game, is that we have a change in our weather, a big change coming for the weekend, and we'll discuss all of that with you in just a few minutes. Avery?
Rich, thank you. Austin police and the Travis County SWAT team responded to an apartment in North Austin early this morning. This after a report of an aggravated sexual assault.
That apartment is on North Lamar Boulevard near Runberg Lane. According to Austin police, a security guard there told police he was doing patrols and came across a woman who reported she had been sexually assaulted at gunpoint. Police were able to identify a suspect's vehicle, name, and an apartment unit.
Officers then attempted to reach that suspect for about an hour and a half, but they did not get a response. Travis County SWAT responded to the scene. Eventually, 6 people left that apartment and were detained. Police say they're now working to determine if any of those 6 are the suspect. If you have any information about this incident, if you happen to be in the area at the time, police are asking you to report it to 311 or to the APD tip line.
This just coming into our newsroom this afternoon. Police shared the name of the suspect arrested in connection to a weekend shooting in Lockhart. That man has now been identified as Jesus Marcos Manzano Jr. He is now in the Caldwell County Jail. He faces charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. According to police in Lockhart, officers responded to a call of a physical assault at about 3 in the afternoon Saturday. They found a victim there with a gunshot wound near 900 South Brazos Street. That man was treated at the hospital and released. Police did track down the suspect, who we just named a few moments ago in the shooting, to a home on 1st Street, where he kept himself inside and would not come out. With the help of Austin Police's SWAT team, he was arrested, but was injured during the arrest and sent to the hospital. Turning now to some news out of Los Angeles. The fight against wildfires persists there today. Those fires destroyed more than 12,000 structures and claimed at least 24 lives.
The biggest of these fires is known as the Palisades Fire, and it's now threatening more communities. NBC's Jay Gray has more from Pacific Palisades.
Look, let's start with the containment numbers, and they are up in all 3 active fires over the last 24 hours. Not significantly, but it does show that teams along the front lines are making some progress. There's concern right now that progress could be in jeopardy with what's now being characterized as an extreme and particularly dangerous red flag warning. That's a rare designation. We saw it initially with the fires that left devastation like this across miles in this area, areas that look like a bomb's been dropped, others where there's just nothing left, no clue of what was standing before the flames. The winds, again, expected to intensify dramatically over the next several days with gusts that could reach 70 miles an hour or more. Not the 90 to 100 we saw initially, but still strong enough to really re-energize the fire where it is burning out of control at this point, enough to spark embers and spread those embers into new areas. Now, 1,000 additional National Guard troops have been moved into the area. 2,500 in all now working this fire. Law enforcement, fire teams constantly patrolling and preparing for this next wind event that is coming. The Palisades is, of course, the largest blaze. It's 14% contained right now. And so the opportunity for this fire to spread is something that's really concerning as they, again, prepare for the strong winds to intensify and continue at least through Wednesday. That's the latest here in Pacific Palisades. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News.
Speaking of those fires, families are reuniting with lost pets in some cases. NBC News caught a heartfelt reunion between a man and his dog several days after that Palisades fire. Take a look.
Oh, honey! Oh, honey! Oh, my God, you're alive! You're alive! Oh, honey!
Oh, man. Well, Casey Colvin lost his home in the fire, but he found his dog, Oreo, yesterday, hiding in that burned rubble. And obviously was very excited to be back with him. He says he was at work when he was told to evacuate last week. He spent hours trying to get home and find Oreo and his other dog, Tika. Eventually, he had to turn around and leave for safety. A firefighter offered to go get them and found Tika, but Oreo ran away. Colvin's home burned down shortly thereafter. This reunion came thanks to several neighbors who kept their eyes out for Oreo.
Ooh, y'all, that brings tears to my eyes. That's such a beautiful reunion there. Texas is also helping those impacted by the wildfires. So log on to this story. You can read more at KXAN.com about how the governor is sending aid and how many of our local firefighters are bringing much needed manpower. Some of them we're hearing are en route right now. As we said, this story has more on KXAN.com. We are taking a live look now out in BK from our Covert Auto Group camera. Rich is telling me this is our newest camera, and it is a gorgeous one. We see those blue skies for miles. He's going to have a full look at our forecast and if these temperatures will continue, when we might see another chilly cool down in just a bit. We want to turn now to California. Los Angeles, we know, will take a very long time to bounce back from the devastating fires that are still burning there. But we are also seeing glimmers of hope, communities coming together in solidarity to offer support amid unimaginable loss. NBC's Morgan Chesky has some of those stories.
As a wildfire disaster deepens, the City of Angels living up to its name. Acts of kindness and generosity pouring into fire-stricken areas.
We got so many volunteers, guys. Thank you guys for coming out.
Donation centers like this one at the Santa Anita racetrack flooded with much-needed supplies and volunteers eager to help. Even Adam Zespedas showing up to lend a hand, even after losing their own home to the Eaton fire.
We feel isolated, like, oh, no one cares. But then at the end of the day, when tragedy happens, all over the town, they come and support.
In Altadena, this family singing hymns over the ashes of the home they'd lived in for 35 years. Nearby, the Altadena Community Church was a fixture in the community for more than 80 years before it, too, was destroyed by fire. Not far from the remains of that church, migrant workers leading a volunteer fire relief force, some 500 people strong, clearing debris from roads and parks, collecting supplies, and distributing them to victims.
People need love and company. In these times of difficulty, hope is built by this act of kindness and love.
Ruth Judkins will celebrate her 90th birthday next month and never expected to see her Altadena home of 48 years go up in flames.
Everybody on our street communicated and just made sure that, are you out? Are you out? Are you safe?
She's seen the damage in photos, but told us life experience has given her some valuable perspective.
So I don't really need a lot of clothes. My life is really simple.
Have you found that facing a loss like this, that mentality is kind of helping?
Yes, I don't worry. And I am at the age where you can look back and actually know what's important. People.
You know, her message there talking about communicating with their neighbors, it's a good reminder, get to know your neighbors. So when, you know, hopefully it's not a wildfire, something like that, but just to know the people on your street.
Yeah, very good reminder there too.
We have a really pretty day working. Good day to get to know your neighbors. So we take a look at the live view from the from the camera that's on our roof here at KXAN, our West Shore home camera overlooking this beautiful downtown skyline. Only 2 cranes can be seen today. All right, let's check today's pollens. Cedar and mold are both low. Cedar a little higher in number today than yesterday. It was at 14 grains per cubic meter of air on Sunday. 34 today, so not much, but still it'll affect some of you. Molds are low and they are also a little higher, but again, not by much. High temperatures this afternoon will be cooler than yesterday, 63. We'll go 56 for the high today. Most of our highs will average the mid-50s on this Monday afternoon. We'll be a little bit warmer tomorrow, but ahead of that will be as cold, if not colder, in some of the area on Tuesday morning, with most lows in the upper 20s to low and mid-30s. Pretty uniform as we saw this morning. And then high temperatures tomorrow will be in the upper half of the 50s to a few at 60. Right now we're going 58 at Camp Mabry because there'll be an increase in cloudiness as we get into the mid and late afternoon hours on Tuesday. As far as the immediate, we're not looking at much in the way of significant weather. It's just a few passing clouds up above through the afternoon into the nighttime hours. But thicker cloud cover arriving tomorrow will lead to a little bit of rain. I have it starting as early as 8 to 10 o'clock, and it won't be for everybody. It'll just be pockets, these little pop-up showers that will move from the southwest to the northeast, and we see continued rain potential on Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night and on Thursday. But I'll caution you to tell you that the rain chances are rather low. Then, as we look at clouds on Thursday and Friday, we clear out to a partly cloudy sky on Saturday. At some point during the morning into the early afternoon, we'll have an Arctic cold front move in the area. This has got the colder air, colder than the Canadian fronts. This has got a big chunk of energy heading in our direction, and it gets here Tuesday, or rather Saturday. Now, it's not going to have much of an effect on temperatures on Saturday. But come Sunday, you will definitely know we'll start out at freezing or below in many locations and only climb into the 40s for highs on Sunday afternoon and likely on Monday as well. Today, 56, down to 35 tomorrow morning, 58 tomorrow afternoon. Chance of rain 20% Wednesday, Thursday, mid-50s again for highs with more cloud cover on Wednesday, upper 50s to low 60s on Thursday. Notice morning lows after tomorrow morning get warmer until that cold front gets here. We'll be in the 40s on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but then we're down to freezing or below next Sunday.
A record number of people are signed up for health care coverage under the Affordable Care Act, according to the White House.
However, President-elect Donald Trump has repeatedly threatened to make changes to the law, and the Republican majority in Congress is positioned to help him do that. Washington correspondent Hannah Brandt has more on the program's uncertain future.
More Americans than ever before are getting health insurance from the Affordable Care Act.
In fact, today, we're breaking records in the number of Americans who have coverage.
The Biden administration announced 24 million Americans have enrolled in the ACA. Health Secretary Javier Becerra says that's largely because of enhanced tax credits the administration put into place to lower the cost of monthly premiums and expand who qualifies for coverage.
The Affordable Care Act's health insurance plans are the best deal in town. Quality health care coverage for an entire month, about $10 a month in your premiums, in some cases less.
But the future of the ACA is in doubt. Republicans have repeatedly criticized it.
Well, I think the promises of the Affordable Care Act have proven to be false.
President-elect Donald Trump tried to dismantle the program in his first term. And with his second term just days away, Democrats like Senator Tim Kaine are concerned.
We're expecting the same level of vigorous attack on the Affordable Care Act by the incoming Trump administration.
While the Trump administration hasn't offered a concrete plan to replace the ACA, Senator Eric Schmidt says he does want to see reforms.
The health care is way more expensive than it was when the ACA went into effect. So I'm always open to new ideas.
Plus, the enhanced tax credits are set to expire at the end of the year unless the Republican-controlled Congress renews them.
We have the lowest rates of uninsured Americans that we've seen in the history of the country. I don't think we want to go backwards.
And Democrats say they'll fight to keep the Affordable Care Act and the expanded tax credits.
I'm going to do all I can to make sure we maintain and improve it.
Enrollment for the ACA is still open until January 15th. In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Back here closer to home, Austin is ranking among the top Texas cities attracting millennials. That is according to a study from financial technology company Smart Asset. Austin is the top Texas city for people between the ages of 25 and 44 who recently moved in. They say just over 10.5% of Austin's population is represented by new millennial transplants. And millennials make up a little under 41% of the city's total population. While Austin is the top Texas city, it ranks number 9 nationally.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
We know the Capitol is quiet now, but tomorrow it will be busy. The Texas legislature will be gaveling in for a new session tomorrow. And one big thing on lawmakers' agenda will be who will take over as House Speaker.
We want to get you prepared for tomorrow, so we're checking in now with our Capitol correspondent, Dylan McKim. Dylan, I know you'll be there tomorrow, but give us kind of the run of order that you're expecting to unfold.
Well, we're going to see a lot of excitement tomorrow, not just with the speaker vote, but just because families are going to be there. It's going to be the only time during this session where family members will be on the Senate and House floor chambers to be with their loved ones as they get sworn in. So yeah, they're going to swear in the new members of this legislature, and then the first order of business, as we said, is this speaker race, which we have not stopped talking about what feels like a few months now, right?
A long time.
A long time. So you know, it does seem like tomorrow, as you'll see the family members there, you'll also see some Republican activists who will be there to try to tell some of the Republican members who are not backing a certain candidate for speaker to try to change their vote. Some pressure from the outside, as we've seen some pressure all the way leading up to this vote tomorrow.
We know many people getting involved. Last week I heard at an event from Attorney General Ken Paxton throwing in his 2 cents. Lots of people have things to say about this speaker race. So Dylan, give us some background. What's going on? This is normally a pretty simple procedural thing that happens, but this year there's some fireworks.
Yeah, let's break it down real simple. Right now, the speaker candidate is, or it's down to 2 candidates this position. We have Republican Representative David Cook, and we also have, he's on the right side of your screen, and on the left side you see there is Representative Dustin Burrows, both Republicans. And the way this would work, they have a GOP House caucus vote where all the House caucus members, 88 of them, get together and they vote on who they want to nominate for the speakership. Usually you'd win that nomination, you'd win the speakership because you have enough votes. That's not what's happening. David Cook did win the nomination, but Dustin Burrows and a faction of the Republicans, some Republicans in that caucus, have splintered off and said, no, we don't support that. Dustin Burrows is still running for the speakership, and because they have split, the Republicans alone do not have enough votes to elect either David Cook or Dustin Burrows. So now it's all turning over to the minority party here in Texas, the Democrats, who have 62 members. If they can throw their numbers behind one of those 2 candidates, that would get them the needed 76 votes over. It's now a math game. We're talking about a numbers game. You just need 76 votes. And you talked about Ken Paxton, the Attorney General. He's been going on kind of a campaign list last week to 4 different locations, going to districts who were not supporting David Cook, the GOP nominee. He was accompanied by Abraham George, who's the Texas Republican Party chair. So they've been running attack ads against Dustin Burrows. They've been sending mailers to these Republican holdouts into their districts, really to pressure them to say, hey, get in line, get behind and support this Republican nominee. You've heard the governor and the lieutenant governor say they do not want a speaker that has Democratic support. They want full Republican support, and we will not know who is going to win this speakership until votes are finally cast tomorrow.
Despite all that high drama that's playing out and the influence campaigns that are underway too, explain why this position, the speaker's spot in the Texas House of Representatives, why that's such an important post.
You know, that's such a great question because this is so dramatic and there's so much inside baseball on this, some relationships here. But it is important because the Speaker of the House is one of the top 3 positions of power in our state capital. You have the governor, you have the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House. Now, the lieutenant governor and governor, you the people, you Texas voters, you select who that's going to be. But the Speaker of the House, that is decided by the 150 members in the Texas House. So you don't have a say. It's all up to those members. Those conversations are internal. And when you think about the power of the Speaker of the House, to put it simply, if the Speaker does not like a certain bill, does not want to see it passed, hey, it's not going to be passed. They have that kind of power to influence what's going to be heard on the floor, where these bills go to the committee assignments. So it's a lot of power, and you want the speaker on your side if you want to get legislation passed in the House.
Quite the power struggle to follow happening on the first day of the Texas 89th legislative session. Okay,
So
both of you will be out at the Capitol following it for us tomorrow. Give people a little plug where to watch.
Yeah, Dylan, you'll be following the speaker's race very closely in addition to all the things that are happening there. And we will be out there on KXAN News at 4 p.m. tomorrow to break down everything, what's happened with that race. And we're going to be interviewing 2 brand new lawmakers who are starting their very first session tomorrow. So very interesting conversations to come.
I hope we have an answer for you at 4. And if we don't, you're going to see me with flyaways and my hair's all crazy. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
We don't know. We'll give you the latest no matter what. So tune
I
in.
may be bringing both of you guys coffee
Please
at 4
do.
p.m. We'll see. We'll
That'd
see.
be great.
Dylan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
First warning weather.
All right, let's get a live look outside from our Austonian camera. Rich does my favorite thing, and he swings this camera around every half hour for us so we can get a 360 view of our beautiful city. I love it.
And it's such a nice day out there, too. Temperatures now cracking into the 50s there. Rich, this is some nice weather after all of that stuff that we experienced last week.
Absolutely correct. We went from the 40s every day last week. As a matter of fact, there was one day that some temperatures didn't get out of the 30s. That was on Thursday when we had the rain. And then we reached the 60s over the weekend. We had a cold front sweep through the area yesterday, and as a result, our temperatures today will peak only in the mid-50s. Currently, we are in the upper 40s to low 50s in the hill country. 52 at San Saba, warmest. The rest of the area about 47 to 51. Here in the metro area, we're at 50 at Florence, 52 at Round Rock, in Travis County, 50 at Lakeway, in Hayes County, 50 at Driftwood, and 53 at Kyle. And as we swing our view off to the east, outside of the 48 at Elgin and 49 at Lexington, the rest of our eastern viewing area, about 50 to 54. It's 54 right now, both at LaGrange and at Muldoon. The wind is coming out of the north to northeast at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. Again, we mentioned earlier that we may find some brief gusts during especially the middle of the afternoon, up at around 10 to 15, maybe 15 to 20, but they won't last too terribly long, and they won't be like we had them over the weekend and last week. But the afternoon will be a little cooler than yesterday, with most of our temperatures peaking in the mid to maybe a few upper 50s, especially in areas along and east of I-35. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in California today in terms of the weather factor of it when we return in just a few minutes. Avery, I aim to please.
He aims to please. Rich, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We do want to get to the latest on those fires raging in Los Angeles. Officials in California gave an update actually just this morning on their progress as firefighters continue to try to get control of those fires. We'll have those numbers in just a moment.
In the coming days, they do fear that wind gusts are expected to reach up to 70 miles per hour. Overnight, we learned the death toll as well from both the Eaton and Palisades fires has now reached 24 people, and it's still expected to climb. The Los Angeles Fire Department's chief says the Eaton fire is estimated to be over 14,000 acres at just 33% containment. He also says over 7,000 structures were damaged. Crews are acting quickly to try to put out some of those active flames that are still burning. The chief publicly says crews needed more support before those fires broke out. However, the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass, says that the budget cuts did not affect their response.
Did we have enough resources? I will tell you no.
The fire chief and I are focused on fighting these fires. Any differences that we might have will be worked out in private.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling for an investigation into water supply issues on the fire's front line.
Now in Washington, we are seeing politicians arguing over who is to blame for these fires.
Washington correspondent Vinay Simlot explains where the federal response is now.
Federal authorities are already on the ground in California helping with the fire and the response. It's happening in one of the most densely populated parts of the country. Governor Gavin Newsom says he's worried that the incoming Trump administration may withhold aid. From above, the California Air National Guard helped support firefighters on the ground.
We haven't seen that before, not
not in Southern California, not like this.
California Governor Gavin Newsom says it may be the worst disaster in U.S. history.
I think it will be in terms of just the costs associated with it.
While we at FEMA now are starting to help support this recovery piece.
Last week, President Joe Biden moved quickly to declare a major federal disaster days before President-elect Donald Trump is due to take office. Trump wrote online California Governor Gavin Newsom should resign, adding this is all his fault.
There was a serious lack of competent governance in California.
Incoming Vice President J.D. Vance and Republicans blamed California Democrats for the destruction.
Policies of the liberal administration out there, I believe, have made these fires worse. I expect that there will be strings attached to money that is ultimately approved.
Newsom responded on NBC's Meet the Press.
Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them.
Newsom says he's invited President-elect Trump to California to see the devastation for himself. He says so far the president-elect has not agreed to a visit. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlot. Back to you.
Some people like to avoid winter's ice, but not the people of Minnesota. The state is now home to the Guinness World Record of the largest ice maze, breaking a record set 15 years ago over in Buffalo, New York. The ice maze in Buffalo was nearly 13,000 square feet. The one at TCO Stadium in Minnesota, though, over 18,000 feet of ice. The maze was created back in September, and it took about a month to piece it all together. The CEO of Minnesota Ice and the Minnesota Ice Festival says it takes people between 20 and 30 minutes just to get through that maze, so you've got to bundle up. And there's even a scavenger hunt to keep you busy.
We're such an outdoor group, and we embrace the winter and we enjoy it, and so it was really cool to bring this record to Minnesota, and hopefully we'll break it again.
Apparently very slick in there too. Oh, there it is. Yep. Will was telling me I was missing some folks slipping and sliding. Apparently more than 150,000 people are expected to make their way through this maze during the duration of the winter festival.
That looks like fun.
I think it kind of does.
Until you fall down.
Yeah, make sure you're bundled up though, but that does look like pretty nice.
I don't know if I have the appropriate footwear to make it through that without slipping and falling.
The heels won't do it for that one.
No, they really won't. All right, let us show you the roller coaster of temperatures that will be on for the week. We'll go 56 today, a little higher tomorrow, a little lower on Wednesday, a little higher on Thursday, and then again on Friday. A minor drop Friday into Saturday, a major drop on Saturday into Sunday with another Arctic air mass expected to settle across the area. I must caution you by telling you that there is no mention, at least for now, on any of the models and any of the discussions that I've seen of any winter precipitation. It may show up on an app, not ours, but we'll keep you posted in case that changes.
But at least those cold temperatures
those
will
are
be a part of
definite.
it. Yeah.
Those are definite. We can just get the cold air without the winter precipitation. Many of us are happy.
Yeah, we'll count on
Except
y'all.
the students.
Walking
right,
to and
exactly
from.
that for two. Well, we'll track that for you all, and we will join you back here coming up in about 30 minutes. Thanks again for watching this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Take care.